From Laketown Harbor at 3826 Williams Boulevard in Kenner, it is the Prep Recruiting Insider Show. Laketown Harbor Restaurant, known for their hamburgers, fantastic wraps, a place to watch the game on many flat screen TVs. This is the place to be. And that's where we are. Hello everybody, I'm Ken Berthelot, WHNO TV Sports Programming Director, along with Rene Nadeau, our recruiting expert and sportscaster. Well, shoot, just one of the best. And Rene, we're having more fun with this show as we look at some of the top recruits from the local area, and each week, I think I'm just surprised at how well some of these young men are performing.
You know, and we've talked about this early, and we got some guests here who can relate to what I'm going to say. New Orleans area, and I'm talking about River Parish, North Shore, turns out more kids than anybody in the country. You know, every year, on the average, there's 34 to 35 kids on NFL rosters that come out of this area. And this year, there were over 40 kids that on NFL rosters that played high school football in the greater New Orleans area. That speaks highly not only of the players, but the kind of coaching they get in this area.
We're going to do something a little different today, in that we're going to take your top 25, and instead of going one by one, let's just pick some of the kids who have had some good weeks or 2-week periods and review their video and see exactly what they're doing.
Sounds great, and we got a top flight collection, a gold-plated collection, if you will, top 25, and it's guys who are just inching to get in that top 25.
Now we're going to pick a bunch of kids from the top 5 or 6, and we're going to start right here with Rickey Jefferson of DESTREHAN. And hey, Rickey's coach going to be with us in just a little while, but let's take a look at some of the video. Rickey has had a great week.
He is. You know, he's a talented athlete. He's 6 feet, 185, runs a sub 4.5 40. He is a commitment to LSU, plays wide receiver, can play cornerback, probably will play cornerback at the next level, Kenny. Very athletic, can play a lot of places. He has the knack for making a big play, as you can see right here on the screen. Great football savvy, very aggressive. You know, he's kind of, when I talked to Coach ROBICHEAUX from DESTREHAN, you know, I asked him, he had some great athletes come through there, the Ed Reeds and the Rondell Mealy's, and he's in that class. He's really that good. And he's going to be a great return guy. You know, he can do it all.
Young man we're going to take a look at is committed to the University of Alabama, Raheem Falkins, and he was a guest with us last week.
He is the real deal. 6'4", 195, runs a full 440, 38-inch vertical. He's committed to Alabama. He considered USC and LSU. But he's a Larry Fitzgerald type of receiver. A possession guy, strong guy, can break it open. You know, he trained very, very hard, and he's been playing since his freshman year at Carver, and great football savvy. And he's a good blocker, which you don't see in high school wide receivers, a good talented blocking wide receiver.
When we started to put this show together, one of the very first players you said, Ken, go get this guy, he's in my top 5, it was Noel Ellis.
Noel Ellis and Karr, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Karr. Noel Ellis has got great bloodlines, 5'10", 170. He's committed to Texas A&M, 4'5", 40, 37-inch vertical. And you got to look at him right here, how skilled he is, Kenny. And look, what a tackle, what a great tackle number 10 is right there. He's been playing cornerback for 4 years, so he has seen it all.
At the bottom of your screen, number 4 in white.
Great ball awareness, finds the ball in flight.
Boom,
right here,
got
as
it.
you can see, comes down with the interception. And you know, he can do it all, as I said. He's going to be a great get for the Aggies. Great natural ability, good Carver cornerback, looks and finds the ball very quickly and knows what to do when he gets his hands on the ball. You can see him boxed in right here, highlighted on this film, and he finds the ball and comes away with it, knocks it down, and has a knack for making a big play for the Karr Cougars. Here's another one, number 4. We had him as number 10, and you can see right here as he comes down with another interception, and that's very tough to keep your composure, keep your focus on the ball, and come away with an interception when it's being juggled like that. He's got great skills.
One young man you were excited about in the last couple of weeks climbed into your top 10 all the way up to the number 6 spot, a young man from Warren Easton named Ed Williams.
Ed Williams is a throwback. You know, you look at the Mike Singletary's, Dick Butkus, Jack Lambert's. This guy plays old school football, and you can see how he feels on this running play. He just shoots through it, bang! Oh. He's going down. The running back is going in the opposite direction. Ed Williams, 6'3", 230. He's a commitment to Texas A&M right now. Runs a 4.55 40. You know, he can do it all. He's a downhill tackler.
Number
he's
15
very
in
aggressive.
Right.
Very, you know, he's very school. He's old school, as I said. He's only played 5 games at linebacker, so believe it or not, he's a converted defensive end. He's only going to get better. A lot of natural ability, and again, he covers the pass very well. So he's got all the skills that you're looking for in a linebacker. Chases downs, doesn't quit on a play, and he's the guy when you need a big defensive stop. He's the one that gets it. Edward Williams from Warren Easton High School. He's a good one.
Each week we take a look usually at the players on your top 25, and we haven't had much of a chance to talk about players who are kind of sleepers. We like to call them on the cusp players, guys who are just ready to break into your top 25. We've got a couple of them we want to show you today, and we're going to start with Jesuit quarterback Tanner Lee, a young man who's from DESTREHAN, playing for the Blue Jays, and I'll tell you what, he has just had a phenomenal start of this season.
Well, he kind of reminds me of, and I'm going to talk about an LSU quarterback, but Jordan Lee from last year. But anyway, he reminds me of him a lot, and
he does,
he's a drop back kind of guy, and Jarrett Lee, I was trying to think of, my apologies, Jarrett Lee, he's a drop back guy. He's playing for Jesuit. He had seven touchdowns in one game a couple of weeks ago, no interceptions. He's very accurate. He makes good throws. He's got good awareness, good pocket savvy, and he delivers. He's got a quick delivery and throws a good out pattern. He may not have the strongest arm, but you don't have to throw 80 and 90 yards to be a good quarterback, and he makes good decisions. He's a commitment to Tulane, and he's done a great job with the Jesuit Blue Jays, and you can see he throws a good touch pass over the top.
552 yards in that game against Shaw, but what impressed me just as much was in the season opener against Holy Cross. He took the second half kickoff for the Jesuit Blue Jays and just methodically drove the Blue Jays all the way down for a score, eating up a lot of time on the clock, and what was a close game at halftime, 14-7, because of the Hail Mary that Holy Cross completed right before the start, or right before the halftime. He took control of that game for the Blue Jays in the second half, and that's a sign of maturity, and that's going to help the Jays.
Football savvy, Ken, as you know. I mean, it means so much. A guy can be very, very talented, but if he gets rattled in a situation and really, can't recognize something or makes the wrong throw or hurries his throw, it means a lot. So it's not all about talent. It's a lot of mental aspect goes into being a good quarterback and football savvy, and Tanner Lee really has good football savvy.
Another man we want to look at on the cusp is a young man named Jason Stewart, and he also comes from Warren Easton, committed to Tulane.
He's down 40 pounds. He was 375. He's 335 right now, and he's committed to Tulane. And
watch the arrows on the video for the big tackle.
He buries guys. You talk about finishing blocks. He's the size. He could play for the NFL, right? He could play in the NFL for the Saints. Look at the way he's driving this guy up the line, and it's a pancake block besides. He finishes his block. Sometimes a guy like this, another pancake, you don't want him to know how big he really is. You want him to play much smaller. He's got good feet, moves pretty well. He's got great at the point of attack. He's been getting some interest, even though he's committed to Tulane. He's getting some interest from Alabama, and that's something you got to keep an eye on. But he's a local guy, and I'm sure that CJ is going to hold his breath. He squats 600 pounds. He's got great lower body strength. A bench press is almost 400 pounds, and look at the way he just slams the defensive player to the ground.
And you said moving like that for 335 pounds?
335 pounds. Wow. Jason Stewart, and this is a guy that Curtis Johnson took a chance on, if you want to say that, and offered him a scholarship. He jumped at it, and right now he's committed to the Tulane Green Wave, and if they keep him, that's going to be a great get.
Let's move right into West Jefferson's Parry Nickerson.
Parry Nickerson. They call him the Flea. He's 170. He may be up from about 135, 140. He's committed to Tulane. Great skills, great football IQ, and a really good grade point average. He's got a 3.5. Finds the ball off the ricochet and the tip drill. That's why the tip drill is so very important. Parry Nickerson coming up with the ball again. You can see him just finding the ball in flight, and that's the most important portion of being a part of being a good cornerback. Not the speed, finding the ball in flight quickly and having good ball skills. And that's what Parry Nickerson has. He's really an outstanding player, and he's, again, a guy who's going to grow into that. He can play safety if need be.
I'll tell you, I like your top 25, but I like some of these guys who are on the cusp, and they're saying, Rene Nato, we want to break into your big board. We want to be in your top 25.
Well, I'm not the smartest guy, but I tell you what, the guys we have on the top 25 and guys on the outside are very, very talented, and this area is very, very blessed with a lot of football talent.
We'll be right back to the Laketown Harbor Restaurant with our special guest, and that is Coach Steve ROBICHEAUX from DESTREHAN. He's probably chunking down right now on one of those great hamburgers that Lake Town Harbor is known for. Right back right after this. Welcome back to Lake Town Harbor Restaurant, 3826 Williams Boulevard, the best place to watch a football game on the flat screens here while you are enjoying the hamburgers they are so well known for. Our guest at this segment, Rene and I welcome our Coach of the Week, Steve ROBICHEAUX, DESTREHAN High, and what a great win over West Jeff. Thanks for being with us, Coach.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I tell you what, I consider Steve a great friend. He's done a great job. 20 years in coaching, 11 years at the helm at DESTREHAN, and all I can say is, before he took off a couple of years hiatus, the Wildcats only won 4 games and a big win last week, and you can tell through DESTREHAN that he's got the Wildcats on the right track again. And got some good players, but you got to know how to coach them.
Well, take a look at our Coach of the Week, and we honor you, Steve ROBICHEAUX, with being our Prep Recruiting Insider Coach of the Week for that big 22-12 victory over West Jefferson, a 2-1 start to your DESTREHAN team, and something to be proud of. We've got some video of that game, so let's go right to the game and see exactly why your team won and why you are our Coach of the Week.
Well, here we go. West Jeff started the score and they go up 7-0. Really talented offensive team. Donovan Easton here on the scramble, gets the ball inside the 10-yard line. Finds Lou Donovan Wells out the backfield.
Touchdown,
touchdown, 7-7. And wheels fall off a little bit here right before half, get the safety. Give them 2 points there, they up 9-7. We kick off at them, they bring it back, and they all of a sudden kick a field goal. So they up 12-7. And come back in the second half and start to play with a little bit of fire defensively. I thought that was a big key to the game, how our defensive front came through and made big plays. Yeah, Joe Sharp does a great job. He's done it all spring, reading, screen pass, makes a big interception, stops West Jeff on one of their drives. It's a big play for us defensively.
Wow, you bet.
His Donovan Ison's got a big, strong arm, big kid. He tells Ricky go deep, and Rickey Jefferson makes a great catch, gets us closer to the goal line here down in the fourth quarter. Will Matthew does a good job finding the hole, gets us close to the goal. And then when you got a guy that's 6'4", 235 pounds, you just tell him to find a hole, and he does a great job doing this.
Wow, look at that.
And he gets over the top. So that's an easy call for any offensive coordinator. So it's pretty good.
Now, Steve, Rickey Jefferson really hasn't been 100%. He's been kind of fighting.
He's been banged up a little bit, bad ankle here and there, but he's getting close to right at 100% again. We get the ball back here. Watch the touch of this Donovan Ison over here to Alfred Smith. What a great play.
Wow, what a toss.
Great play, good toss. Alfred, although sophomore receiver, does a great job catching the ball.
Well, as you said, West Jeff held serve for 3 quarters, and you guys didn't quit and came back in the fourth quarter, took the game over. And Rickey Jefferson, 4 grabs, 71 yards, and he's done a great job. He can play either side of the ball. But Donovan Ison, I got to be impressed, and I have to ask you about your offensive line. We got Noel and Sharp among our top 25. Your offensive line is blocked pretty well.
Well, there's no doubt. A big key for our offense is giving protection for our quarterback, and Nolan's the big key to that offensive line. They've been doing a great job so far, and as long as they keep protecting Donovan Ison, we got a chance to be successful.
Steve, just how does it feel to be back in coaching? You took a 2-year hiatus to go into administration. You were away from the game for a couple of years. You had those real nice state championships already in 2007, 2008. You decided to come back. Tell us a little bit about the thought process to step out of it and then to get back into it.
Well, there's only one thing that's more important in DESTREHAN football, and that's my family. And I had to make a decision. My daughter was a cheerleader over at St. Charles Catholic, and I had to make a decision based on the things that we saw for her. She was on the homecoming court, and I didn't want my daughter to regret that her dad didn't walk her across for homecoming. And we kind of made a decision, my wife and I, that we're gonna get out of coaching, spend time with the wife, and spend time with my daughter. Get to see her cheer with St. Charles Catholic. Got to see Frank Monica win the state championship. So we really didn't get away. We just kind of watched a real coaching game. So Frank does a great job over there. But I tell you what, it was tough. It was tough. When football's in your blood like it is. My wife came back at the end of this when DESTREHAN opened up again and kind of said you needed to go back. I said no. I said it's our time now. And she says, no, you need to go back. And it only took twice. And then the second time she said it, I called Mr. Weber.
She knew. She knew before you knew, didn't she?
She
yes.
knew. So we're excited to be back. And all I ever want to do is just get that program where it needs to be. And that's what we focusing on. And take care of the little things and doing things right and making sure you're doing everything that we can to be successful. And that's what we're focusing on. And if you do things the right way and you run a program with tradition, when you get that good talent, you can make a good run like we did in 2007, 2008.
Well, I tell you what, recall 2007, 2008. You had been the coach there from 2000 to 2009. But to wrap it up with back-to-back titles is something very, very special in this state in a very tough classification.
Very, very special. And what was so good about it, it happened that we were a great offensive team in 2007, with Jordan Jefferson, Damaris Johnson, and, Jericho Nelson, Tim Moulton, And in 2008, we're more of a defensive squad, with Darrington Cinnamore and Tony Parker and Rufus Porter. So it's kind of a good situation where you won one offensively and then the next year you kind of had to do it with defense. So that was kind of special. We were just at DESTREHAN and like I said, that's all I ever want to do is keep that program running. And when those classes came through, we were very fortunate and very lucky to get it done twice.
Steve, if I can ask you, something we talk about, and I mentioned in the early part of the show, how much talent comes out of New Orleans and greater New Orleans area? A lot of talent, a lot of his coaching. What reason might you give for how much talent has been produced to the NFL coming out of this area? It's not more than just the Mannings.
That's right. We were just blessed with a lot of talent where we are. I think football's important, especially in the river parishes down there, and you're competing against good people, and you've got good coaches down there. So I think not only being a raw athlete is great, because you know what? I didn't teach Ed Reed everything he knows. Ed Reed's a pretty good special player, but I think we were able to kind of keep him focused, kind of keep doing what he needs to do, and I think that's what's important. If you got good kids and good programs with good coaches, I think it helps.
One of the kids that came out of your program was the young man from Tulane, Devon Walker, who went through the tragic injury, and I know you've been keeping up with that. How closely have you followed that?
It's tough. I've been texting Mom and calling Mom a couple of times, and it's just a terrible situation. When it happened, my wife and I talked about it, and you were just very fortunate it never happened to someone over at DESTREHAN, but it's just, Devon Walker's a great kid, just a great individual. He wasn't blessed with a whole lot of speed. He wasn't blessed with a whole lot of ability. He walks on at Tulane because he wants a degree from Tulane. It wasn't about playing football at Tulane. He wanted a degree from Tulane, and he did that. And Tulane, he sticks it out, and Tulane gives him a scholarship. And that's the type of kid he is. Just persistent, doing everything he can to be successful. And I tell you what, can't find a better individual. And then it's just really tough.
Thank you for caring as much as you do, and congratulations on being our Prep Recruiting Insider Coach of the Week and a fine win over Western.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All righty, we'll take a break. Thanks, Stephen ROBICHEAUX, Coach at DESTREHAN, for being our guest in this segment. Back with our prep polls and key matchups right after this from the Laketown Harbor Restaurant, 3826 Williams Boulevard in Kenner. Welcome back to Laketown Harbor Restaurant, 3826 Williams Boulevard, the best place to watch a game on the flat screen TVs and enjoy one of their hamburgers. They are known for their hamburgers, their po' boys, and their wraps. And well, I'll tell you, I have to get the wrap out of Rene's hands during the commercials just to get him back and concentrating on this. It's time to take a look at our SportsNola.com top 10 in each classification, put together by SportsNola.com. Ken Trahan and his talented cast of sports writers, of which Rene Nadeau is one. Right away, we see no changes at the very top of 5A. Rummel, who got a big win at Denham Springs last week, still tied with Barb at the very top.
And Rummel, offense averaging 32.6 points a game. Defense stepped up big. Barb always good offense. Jesuit, Tanner Lee at the control, and of course, St. Paul's, Kenny, started 0-2, now 2-2.
Yeah, but the 0-2 was to John Curtis and to Lincoln out of Tampa, Florida in the Sugar Bowl, in the All-State Sugar Bowl Classic in the Dome. So when you take a look at that and how they've come back since, they deserve to be right there where they are. Let's move to 4A, where Neville sits atop the board. But look at Karr. They might just be the very best, and they're going to be their defense is our player of the week.
We're going to talk more about them, what players they have. We got great coaching. Lutcher, a little too much for Tara. St. Augustine, they need Fournette healthy. East Jefferson, people are going to watch that offense. They can go. They got a good quarterback, and he's making things go. Salmon took a big step back after being beat by Karr. Parry Walker, that's a team to watch.
And not only that, but watch McDonough 35. They're not in the top 10, but once they start finding their stride, which they did last week, they might be climbing in the next couple of weeks. In 3A, Parkview Baptist right up at the top, and watch E.D. White's climbing.
E.D. White had a battle with the Gators. St. Charles Catholic got their first win after they went undefeated last week. Coach Monica really is. Isaac was the big return against.
Yeah,
St.
they're
Charles.
they're 1-2. They started 0-2, but you got to call them One and Isaac because they are really. You don't look at the 0-2. The minds of those young men on that football team weren't there. It takes a guy like Frank Monica to get them thinking football again, and they will be around at the end. They will be a team to be reckoned with. Good to see a meet still in the top 10. In 2A, hey, who else? Who else could be up there? But Conference USA is John Curtis, because that's where they ought to be playing, right?
John Curtis, not only a good offense, a great defense, giving up like 4 points a game to opponents. Winfield 4-0, pitching shutouts. Calvary Baptist, they're going to be in there when the smoke clears. Evangel, University Lab, Holy Savior Bernard. 2A has been said many times, Kenny, the toughest in the state. 2A is the toughest. Maybe they can compete with 5A.
Well, you've got John Curtis, you've got Winfield, you've got Calvary Baptist, Evangel, and my goodness, those guys might be good candidates for ACC expansion in college football, let alone high school football. They might be the best, whether it's 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A. They might be the absolute best in the state. That's how good that group is. And Menard, hey, they're starting to have people take notice too. They're still undefeated on the year at 4-0, so watch carefully in there. In 1A, you've got, I'll tell you what, when you take a look at 1A, you've got Ouachita Christian, Vermilion Catholic right up at the top, and we've got it back on the screen for you to look at.
And the Kentwood Kangaroos, 3-1, lost to a really good 3A team. West St. John, the Rams, always good. They'll be there when the smoke clears. Keep an eye on Southern Lab. Haynesville, number 4. Nice win over Cedar Creek, and that's a team that knows the Dome very well.
Well, one of the things we like to do is put up some key matchups, maybe some games that will attract special interest this week. And as we look at our key matchups, I want to start right off with a Thursday night game. And team ranked number 5 in our prep poll, the Jesuit Blue Jays, has gone to a team that hasn't won a game yet, and that's John Ehret. And you know what? Here's what you've got to be careful of here. The Jays are rolling. But now, when you get the kind of performances that Tanner Lee has been providing for Jesuit, people take notice and they start gunning for you. It doesn't matter what their records are.
Well, you know, Jesuit, they put up a lot of passing yards. Last week, Tanner Lee, 7 out of 8 for 141 yards and 2 scores, but they did it on the ground. Kalen Menard, 145 yards, 7-yard average per carry. Big win, 42-7 over De La Salle. But Ehret is searching for an identity.
That's Hoss Memphis on Thursday night. Let's move to some Friday night games, and we're going to go to Newman at Carver. And this one right here, Pan American Stadium, 7 p.m. Friday night. Newman 2-1, Carver 3-0. Both teams, you got to watch them in the polls. Neither one ranked, but I'll tell you what, Carver beat Landry, then beat John McDonough and Sophie Wright by a combined score of 90-6. Newman lost to McMain, then bounced back with an impressive win over Middle McCoy and a 48-8 win over Clark last week. And we've got some video to show you of Newman's Jay Tyler, a guy you're very high on.
Very, very big, very high on him. That's the son of Herb Tyler, former LSU Tiger. He's only a sophomore, but he's done something that neither of the Manning brothers did. He threw 6 touchdown passes in one game. He's got 13 scoring tosses on the season, only 1 interception. Kenny, he's completing 80% of his tosses. Herb Tyler wasn't a big guy, neither is Jay, but he's accurate and he delivers the ball where it needs to be. And he's the engine that makes, he's the fuel that makes an engine run for the Newman Greenies.
Wow, you're telling me he's ahead of Peyton and Eli?
Right now he is, and he did something that neither one of the Manning brothers did. Eli or Peyton, 6 scoring tosses in one game, good delivery, throws over the top. He's only about 5'7", 5'8", but he has a good delivery over the top. And again, he picks up the receivers very well.
All right, let's go on to our next matchup, and that's going to be Riverside at our number 1 AA team, John Curtis, 4-0, Riverside 0-3, Friday, 7 p.m., Muscardolino in Kenner. We're going to be tape delaying that game, airing it on WHNO TV Saturday at 9 a.m. And hey, Curtis is Curtis, but what about Riverside? They've lost to Salmon, Brusley, but they also put up 50 points in a 62-50 loss to South Plaquemine last week.
The thing with Riverside, their defense is giving up 54 points a game. Curtis is only allowing 4 points per game, and of course they have that bevy of running backs. Curtis is much like LSU. They have a slew of running backs, 5 or 6 deep. They can keep throwing another one in there and a fresh back and really hurt you.
Billy Stubbs back at Riverside. By the way, he's had success against Curtis, but again, that's when he was with Solomon in a much more established program. He'll be back to do that probably very, very soon as he establishes the program. A couple of more matchups very quickly to look at. Rummel at Holy Cross. Rummel, again, tied for our #1 spot. And they're Friday, 7 p.m. Tad Gormley. Holy Cross lost to Jesuit. Came back with a couple of very big wins against Chalmette and Shaw. 35-6 and 31-6 rather, and 34-0 is the Tiger win. So Holy Cross has found it. They're not self-destructing, and they're winning. That's going to be one heck of a matchup at Tad Gormley Friday at 7. Couple of big ones on the North Shore. We're not going to put up on the screen, though. St. Paul's at Mandeville, always a barn burner there. St. Paul's coming back, and they meet at Franklinton. Always a fun game to watch on the North Shore when those two teams get together. So we've got some pretty good games coming up for people to watch this Thursday and Friday night.
Always great games. If you're not at a high school game, you need to be. Go catch your alma mater, if you will, and go catch a high school game.
We'll be back in just a moment with our Player of the Week from Laketown Harbor Restaurant on Williams Boulevard in Kenner. Back at Laketown Harbor Restaurant, 3826 Williams Boulevard here in Kenner. We're welcome back to Prep Recruiting Insider, and it's time to announce our normally defensive Player of the Week, but today it's more than just a Player of the Week. We are awarding this to an entire group, and here to help us with the award is Frank Amos, the Marketing Director for Max Home and New Bath. And Frank, why don't you announce who our Defensive Unit of the Week will be?
Well, for an outstanding play against Salmon High this past week, the entire defense of Karr High School is Player of the Week.
Rene, they did a great job against Salmon.
And you know, we had a lot of opportunities to pick a Player of the Week, but Karr defense deserves it. They shut out Salmon. It was the #3 ranked team in the state. They have 42 tackles for loss thus far this season. The leader of that group is Gerald Willis, who's a junior. He will be a big-time recruit next year. He's at 9 tackles for loss. Junior Donnie Alexander has 7 tackles for loss and a pair of interceptions. But you know, that team has some great leaders. Speedy Noel on offense, Standish Dobard, who's going to is committed already in Miami, and of course Noel Ellis. That team is loaded with talent, but that defense really has done great, only allowing 6 points per game to their opponents.
My goodness, what an amazing stat, and we just want to congratulate that defense for being our Prep Recruiting Insider defensive unit of the week. And this gives us a chance to talk with a guy who looks like he was a middle linebacker on somebody's team, but he tells me in high school he was actually a pulling guard on the offensive side. I'd want him hitting somebody for me the way he looks today, and that is Frank Amos, the Director of Marketing for Max Home and New Bath. And you want to talk about defense? You guys have a great defense against bad weather, hurricanes and everything with Max Home, and the kind of windows they can put into someone's home.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about defense. We have high efficiency windows, energy efficient windows is what we have. You know, they're, first to start off, they have an argon gas. This argon gas blocks out 98% of the heat that comes from the sun. And we know how hot it can get down here in Louisiana, especially through the dog days of summer, right?
Yes,
very hot. We have a patent that we're the only ones in the world that we use virgin vinyl instead of aluminum spacers between the windows. That in itself is going to reduce the heat that is conducted for your windows. And our locks are it's called a reinforced interlocking system. That basically works like a submarine hatch. When you batten down the hatches and you lock those latches on your window, it's the same thing. It keeps all the moisture, the air, seals it tight.
Frank, one thing, if a person listening right now says, wow, I've got to find out more, how can they go about doing that?
You can call 504-529-1300, or you can go to maxhomenewbathnow.com and check us out. these windows, they all come with lifetime warranties, and you will not be dissatisfied at all.
And as owner, president, and CEO, Larry Kloss reminds our viewers each week, the important thing about Max Home New Bath, you guys are local, you're not going anywhere. You want your reputation to be intact, and you're going to take care of your customer.
Absolutely. Our motto is everybody happy, and we do our best to stand up to that.
Frank Amos, thanks for being with us from Max Home New Bath and announcing our Karr defense as the defensive and the unit, the high school unit of the week. Back to Lake Town Harbor Restaurant right after this on Prep Recruiting Insider. Welcome back to Lake Town Harbor Restaurant, 3826 Williams Boulevard in Kenner. Great place to watch games on the numerous flat screens here. Enjoy their famous hamburgers, great wraps. This is the place to be, Lake Town Harbor Restaurant. And it's time for our Legends segment. And we've got such a great guest today. We're going to stretch this out to 2 segments because we've got a lot to talk about. And he is former Ehret, LSU, and Green Bay Packers star, Norman Jefferson. Norman, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Well, I tell you what, Rene, I feel like I'm sitting next to a great piece of football history, local football history right here, because man, he's got such a great resume in the game.
Well, he does. You know, and I remember when he signed, and we'll talk a little bit about the recruiting process. Came with a great class: Michael Brooks, Toby Caston, John Hazard, Brian Kinchin, Raji McGee. Played with some outstanding defenses. The 85 team allowed 11 points per game to opponents. He went 2-1-1 against Alabama while he was there. Played with Eric Martin, Dalton Hilliard, Gary James, Tommy Hodson, Wendell Davis, some great players. Great years at LSU. 27 wins doing the Osborne this time.
Yes.
Reflect a little bit before we talk about the great years at LSU, a little bit of the Green Bay Packers and that state championship at John Ehret. Tell people a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Right now, I work for Lake Long Battery. I do cemetery property. We sell property. That's what I do there now. I've been doing that for about 6 months now. So that's my job.
And I walked in to get some video, and everybody was all around Norman going, tell us a little bit more about some of those great football plays. Tell us a little bit more about that great state championship, and we're going to look at that state championship game in just a little while. But wow, I've got to tell you, let's go back to a piece of video that means an awful lot to you. You brought a West Jeff game in that was played in 1982, and it was a game that Ehret won by a very close score.
13-6, John Ehret over West Jeff. That's me returning. We did a reverse pitch against them. Great game. The year before that, we played them. We beat them 46-45. So they decided this year we're going to put them in the Superdome. That's Tyrone Vaughn going on a hitch and go route with Tyrone Mitchell throwing the ball to him for a touchdown. Should be a touchdown, yes, for a touchdown. Great athlete. I think one of the best athletes that ever came out of Louisiana as a wide receiver. This is Troy Brown was getting beat for a touchdown. So we wound up switching, moving Troy to one side after that play there, and I wound up covering the safety. We stopped for a 2-point conversion. So it was 7-6 going into the second half. We run an option with me, getting the pitch. Great run.
There goes number 12. There goes number 12.
Funny to see that. Some history, great history. Throwing the ball. That's Tyrone for a great catch.
Did you win number 12 for any particular reason because of a play, Norman?
No, I wrote 12. I wrote 12 in middle school, so I wanted 12 in high school. So it's just something I wanted that number from middle school. I played quarterback, so it's just a number that I felt comfortable having, and that's the number to give me.
Couldn't get that same number at LSU or with the Packers, so.
Not with Green Bay. In the pros, you have to have a higher number in the pros, so they didn't want to give me number 12. Because I wanted 12 in the pros, that's the number I wanted also, but I couldn't get it.
Talk a little bit about LSU and what those years meant to you, playing with both under Jerry Stovall for 1 year and Bill Onsberger for 3.
2 different coaches. You know, I enjoyed Bill. Bill was one of those coaches that came in and he said, you know what, we're going to teach you as men. Onsberger was one of the coaches. He was more disciplined and more strict, but he was a great coach. It's just that a lot of players, when you come from high school into college, you want more freedom. Because you know you leave your parents home and you wanted more freedom. But when Onsberger was a great coach, I enjoyed Coach Onsberger. I had fun with him. The players we had, great time. I mean, we had some great players that I played with. Came in as freshmen. We had 8 players that came in as freshmen that went to the pros.
Wow.
So, I mean, great class, and I had a great time with the players, and people I've been with, being up there, had a great time.
I'm going to touch on some of that LSU in just a little while, more in depth, but then you go to the Green Bay Packers, and I think one of the distinctions there is you were the last player taken in the NFL draft. You were, let's see if I got it right, got to go back and look at the number 335 in that draft. And normally there's special distinction given to the last player taken. Did you go through the parades and everything?
Yes, I did. Mr. Irrelevant week. It's
Mr.
a
Irrelevant.
long thing that they do for the last person drafted in the NFL. Because the way it is a guy named Paul Salata, he decided, everybody get to hoop and holler for the first player drafted in the NFL. So he decided the last player drafted, we're going to do a special thing for him. It's nothing to put a person down. It's just something that gives you a chance, opportunity. And I loved it. I had a great time. I enjoyed myself. And I knew I wasn't supposed to be the last person drafted. In my mind, I figured I was better than most corners that was out there. But something happened. I got hurt in college, so something happened. But great time, great function, great event. Did it for a weekend. Enjoyed it. I'd do it again if I had a chance.
We're visiting with our Legends guest, Norman Jefferson. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll take a look at that great state championship win that he helped lead Ehret to over the Covington Lions. All of that coming up in just a moment. We are live at the Laketown Harbor Restaurant, known for their wraps and fun times, right here on Williams Boulevard in Kenner. Welcome back to Laketown Harbor Restaurant, 3826 Williams Boulevard here in Kenner. Ken Berthelot, Rene Nadeau, and our Legends guest, Norman Jefferson. John Ehret, state champion, LSU, big wins there, and a couple of years with the Green Bay Packers. But right now, let's talk about a state championship victory over the Covington Lions, coached by Jesse Daigle, and he took you guys into a battle with Jack Salter's Lions. And you guys come out on top, and we've got some video. Let's go right to the video on that. Take a look at the first half of that ball game in the Louisiana Superdome, and here come the John Ehret Patriots, led by Norman Jefferson. Covington first with the ball in the white jerseys, and who's got that pick, number 12? Norman Jefferson.
Great pick, great play. What they don't show is before the game started, right after before that play, we had a turnover, which I returned the kickoff and I turned the ball over. So we got in the huddle on defense and said, let somebody make a play. We have to make a play to get the ball back to get to our offense. Our offense was putting up points on the board against everybody. We was actually almost 30 points a game.
And you made up for it with that pick.
We made up for it with that pick. So we go in 3-0 for the field goal. They had a great back with Jeff Alexander. They go for a screen play with David Hudson takes the interception. I was trying to get him to go for a touchdown, but he got ran down. But great pick, good play. That helped out a lot. That's momentum change. When you go in and score, we stop from scoring. We go from the option with Chad Inkelai goes, good running back, great player, great friend, pick up positive yards. And this is me getting the pitch from Tyrone Mitchell. So I think I scored on that play. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's close. You played offense and defense
but
and special
the next
teams.
Play. Come back and
there it is.
Play.
Boom,
Yeah,
touchdown.
And this might not have been the best team in Ehret either.
No, not at all. Not close. Probably was the third best team in Ehret that year, but they won the state championship. So you got the fundamental players, you got your stars, you got the players. People make great field goal for this young man here. I don't remember who the kicker was, but strong leg, great kick.
It's halftime, and hey, you guys are clicking. Can you remember what went on in the halftime locker room with Coach Jesse Daigle?
Don't remember exactly, but I know we sit there. We felt good going into halftime because number one, the best running back, we kept to a minimum. So we kept saying at halftime, let's put even more pressure on him, let's hit him even more. Every play he gets the ball, hit him. If you don't get the ball, hit him. We try to take him out the game mentally. And I think second half it showed because he wasn't running the ball as hard like he was running the first half. So, we came out at halftime and just decided, okay, we're going to play our game and try to play hard and play even stronger as a team.
Let's go right to the second half highlights and take a look at it for the Louisiana Superdome, because this was John Ehret's night. Pick, no, catch.
It was a catch called pass interference.
Catch, pass interference, and Covington's going to put one on the board to make this one close.
Yes.
Final score of this one, by the way, at the end was 32-13. At that time, 4A was the highest classification, and Ehret was the 4A state champions with a 14-1 record that year.
It's Tyrone Mitchell going back in the pocket to the ball, interception, pick. I don't know, I think, but we stopped him and held him on that play.
A lot of talent on his field at the time.
A lot of talent. This is shit. We had pressure. Ken took interception. I don't remember Ken last name. Took interception, goes for a touchdown. I think that changed the momentum of the game. But it was up at that time. It was up, so that made a big difference with us going into that third quarter. Tyrone Mitchell drops back, goes to his favorite target, Tyrone Vaughn.
Tyrone Vaughn, there he is.
His favorite target, Tyrone Vaughn. That's a touchdown to Dino.
I remember Tyrone Vaughn went to Tulane, and then he wound up going to, I think, Mississippi Valley, something like that.
This is me returning, running the ball, picking up positive yards. This is Tyrone trying to pass. This is me catching a complete catch pass.
Good move.
Picking up positive yards and running to my man, Tyrone Vaughn. Stopped me from scoring a touchdown. But I scored eventually on this play here. This is the next play we scored after me scoring a touchdown.
And of course, this was in '81. You had a few more years at Ehret before LSU and other schools were recruiting you. And definitely touch on the recruiting process, because talk a little bit about how you ended up going to LSU after your Ehret years.
It's funny because I was thinking about going to SMU, but at that time they got the death penalty, so that took away. That was one of the things I couldn't go to school. That they couldn't play in the bowl game, so it was between LSU, Alabama. Actually, SMU was first on my list at the time, but my mother loved it. My mother loved going to Stovall, talking to Stovall, and my mother also loved Bear Bryant at that time. So it was between one or two, and to me, going to LSU was close to being home. So that's one reason why I decided to go.
You know, so much is made about visits now, and I know there's a limitation on visits and camps. There's a lot of camps.
Yes.
How did your recruiting process go? I know you didn't have a lot of camps and things then. Visits, how were your visits, Noel?
My visit was great. We wound up going to Alabama for one, visit me. Me and Tyrone went to Texas A&M together, went to Pittsburgh together also. We did a camp at LSU my junior year that we all participated in. Me, Tyrone Vaughn, and Tyrone Vaughn and Webster Garrison wound up going to take a visit up there. Tyrone, and I tell people the funny thing about it is, Tyrone was more LSU than I was. I was more SMU at first, yes. He was more LSU than I was, because I mean, he was LSU. When he changed his mind with the Tulane, it was a big surprise. But recruiting-wise, it's chaotic, because you get so many people calling and sending and want you to come visit. And you got 5 visits, so everybody want to pull and tug. We want you to come visit, come visit. And you can't go to everybody. So it was kind of hard at that time. But at the same time, it's fun, because you're going, leaving your state, you're going to visit other countries, other cities, other cities. So it was a big enjoyable thing for me to do, because being in Louisiana, going outside the state, was something that really I enjoyed doing. But
what finally made you decide on Jerry Stovall and LSU over the Bear?
My mother.
Yeah.
It was my mother's decision. She always tell people it was my decision, but it was really, truly, it was her decision to me, because I know she loved Coach Stovall, and going to talk to Coach Stovall and him coming home, and then one thing and I tell people, the thing about him that made it committed even stronger was he was more of a church person.
Yep.
And my mother's a church-going woman, so that was more, and not taking nothing from Bear Bryant, but Stovall preached church, and that was the final straw, for her.
Well, Norman, you've had a great career both in high school, college, and with the Green Bay Packers too. Yes. You had some fun years there. Just want to thank you for taking time to be a guest with Rene and I on Prep Recruiting Insider, and we wish you the best of luck with Lake Long.
Thank you very much.
Alrighty, thank Norman Jefferson and Rene Nadeau, and we hope you've enjoyed this edition of the Prep Recruiting Insider. We will be back to wrap this edition of the Prep Recruiting Insider up right after this. Lake Town Harbor Restaurant, 3826 Williams Boulevard here in Kenner. There's the phone number. You can call and make sure they're watching the game, but on the many flat screens they have here in the restaurant, I promise you, they're watching the game, and I'm trying to get Rene to put that hamburger down, finish this show, and then you can eat all that. They are so well known here at Lake Town Harbor for the hamburgers, fantastic wraps, and just an all-around fun time. And we want to remind everybody that coming up Friday night and then aired Saturday at 9 is Riverside and John Curtis. It's the first NBC prep showcase. And I'll tell you what, Rene, I am looking forward to doing another John Curtis game, this time with Billy Stubbs and Riverside, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
You know, something that people may not remember is that these Billy Stubbs and JT Curtis have faced each other in a state championship game. Billy Stubbs won it all in '94 with a running back at Salmon High called Dwayne Woods. And then in 2000 with Tristan Smith, who went on to play at Tulane, was a quarterback at Salmon, and they also overcame John Curtis in the state championship game. So there's been some really heated rivalries between these two coaches when Billy Stubbs was at Salmon and JT with John Curtis, and it'll be interesting to see how they match up again with Billy Stubbs now at Riverside.
Of course, Billy had a more established program at Salmon when that happened. So 2 or 3 years from now, this will probably be, or it is expected to be, a better matchup than it's expected to be this coming Friday night. But I'm looking forward to that game being replayed Saturday at 9 a.m. Right here on WHNO TV Channel 20. And you and I are going to have some fun with that ball game, I can tell you that.
It's always great to do prep football, and don't have a chance to do a lot of it now, but I'm glad to be doing this game, and it will be a lot of fun. And there's a lot of stories on both teams. And, you know, Riverside, they haven't won yet. And, of course, Curtis is the #1 team in the country. I wouldn't put anything past this. Always, Billy Stubbs is a Riverboat gambler. You never know what he's going to try.
With that, we're going to wrap it up here from the Lake Town Harbor Restaurant on this edition of the Prep Recruiting Insider Show. Hope you're with us Saturday morning for the replay of Curtis and Riverside in the first NBC Prep Showcase Game of the Week. From the Lake Town Harbor Restaurant for Rene Nadeau and our entire WHNO TV crew and all of our guests today, I'm Ken Berthelot saying thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next week with more Prep Recruiting Insider.